Yes? All right. Please don't worry about the title. I want to start with a little story. When Petra asked me if I could say something about social entrepreneurship, sustainability, boosting academic entrepreneurship, I said, fine, please go ahead, I will say something. You know what gave me that confidence? I'm from a little southern state in India, and this state is called Kerala. Kerala means a land of coconut trees. So there, all the little children, they always learn about to write 5 sentences about coconut trees. So that is typically an exam question for the 2nd grade. All right? One particular year, that question was different. Not to describe about coconut trees, but to describe a horse. What do you do? So this kid started writing. My grandfather used to have a horse. He used to tie the horse onto a coconut tree. Then the coconut tree is a tall tree and all kinds of nice stories. So it doesn't matter what is here. Whatever I know, I will tell you. All right? And the fun would be when you stop me and ask me questions and challenge me. And then, I'll learn from you. But most of the time, I really learn from all of you when you stop me and challenge me and ask questions. So I'll try to tell you a story and then you ask me questions. All right? Okay. So my story, in the last 4.5, 5 years, the story started at UT Dallas. About 4.5 years ago, I moved to this beautiful, this campus is really beautiful, about 250 acres. Moved to this place as the director and dean of the business school. And then they told me, you know what, we are constructing a beautiful new campus about 70 kilometers away, this one. So in 6 months we are moving. Fine, it's great. And also they made me the rector of this campus. And they said, today you will have the business school, and with the time you can have all sorts of things. It's up to your imagination, and there is money. Excellent. So we moved to this campus. This is the location. Himalayas is the location. If you look at the map and if you start Googling the pictures for this location, you will find something like this. All right? But unfortunately, this is not what you see. What you really see is all these smokestacks and so many polluting small and medium-sized enterprises around. This is what you see. And some days you cannot even breathe. It is that bad. Several, small industrial villages, 400, maybe about 500 small and medium scale, chemical, metallurgical, food processing, pharmaceutical, pesticide, you name it, all polluting small industries around. Very poor, very, very poor air and water quality. 99% of the villages make less than to about $1.50 a day. This is the situation, and we really, especially, I was very frustrated. This is not a place for developing a good business school and a small university campus. So, then we asked a desperate question. How can we come out of this situation? Really desperate. I mean, no time to think. We were all desperate. Our assumption, some of it is explicit assumption, some of it is implicit. Current air and water quality is very bad for about 300 plus students, faculty and staff. And the people who built this school definitely made a mistake. Almost impossible to deal with so many hundreds of these small companies, almost impossible to deal with them. And they may not have enough money to also treat air, water. Regulators are definitely ineffective, no question. And then the desperate question again is, what can we do? The answer is always, when you ask a desperate question, you always get a desperate answer, and whatever is in your control. And what did we do? We already made all the buildings airtight.
Wow.
We started filtering intake air, and even we started constructing a bio wall. I'll show you. All this probably improved about 10%, and the result is frustration and disappointment. This is really happened. I'm talking about 3.5 years ago. This is an example of a bio wall. We're trying to okay. So this is not a great situation. I don't know why and how this has happened. One day, I still remember, I was, coming to, from Delhi, I boarded the KLM flight, coming to Enschede. I could not sleep. I've been thinking about all this. This is about 4 years ago. What can we do? And that night, I could not sleep in the plane. Then I thought, if I am there for these 300 students and faculty, there is absolutely no point. I still have my position back at UT Dallas. I should just resign and go away. Then I thought, no. Probably we are not working for these 300 people. We are really working for maybe 20,000 villagers. So that changed everything. You see, here you can see, our assumptions have changed. The current air and water quality is not only bad for 300 plus students, faculty and staff, but also bad for 20,000 villagers. That alone, I don't know how that came into my mind, but that alone changed everything, at least for me, and I started talking with people, and for them also everything changed. Small companies may not have the money, but they have the potential, and blaming the regulators and government for corruption and ineffectiveness, probably we should lobby and partner with them. So then the question also changed. Now it is not a desperate question. Now it's a problem-solving question. How can we engage all stakeholders to find a useful solution to this problem? And I think this is the most powerful answer, helping. And India is a very complex culture. I don't think I have the time to go into all those details. Petra is ready with those 5 minutes thing, right?
No,
yeah.
enough.
Okay, all right. So it's a very complex culture. And how do you, there are fantastic studies now on the idea of trust and trustworthiness. And Japanese, for example, it's a collectivist culture. Most scholars thought that, including Francis Fukuyama, thought that a collectivist culture is also a trusting culture. But a recent, very interesting book written by, I forgot his first name, last name is Yamagishi. He argues that, he's a Japanese social psychologist, he argues that a collectivist culture is not a trusting culture, but a collectivist culture would depend more on security rather than trust. So India's situation is also, but in Japan, the security is for all Japanese. For India, security is for a micro collective. So it is not about trust, it is about security. It's very, very complex culture. But when you have those kind of complex cultures, giving help and seeking help is one way of building trust. Giving and seeking help. So the result was really, we were very happy. So helping through instilling sustainability, social entrepreneurship, there's a lot of overlap between those constructs and also what we try to do, and instilling those mindsets. Also there's a lot of overlap. Helping companies to save money through process improvements. We have started that. Initially no company wanted to deal with us, but now many of them are working with us. So that's definitely happening. Slow, but it's happening. And lobbying with the government, I think especially now it has become even slightly better, because the state government has changed, and we are much more closer to the current, I'm not politically connected, but I happen to know the most senior bureaucrat of that government, the cabinet secretary level person, so it's getting much better, instilling sustainability practices in the community through a new course we have developed. We call Sustainability in Practice. So we have a 2-year MBA program. This Sustainability in Practice is run through 3 semesters. And we don't call it as SIP 1, 2, 3. We call it the Sustainability in Practice Energy, Sustainability in Practice Environment, Sustainability in Practice Economics. And that cycles. And we have both first year and second year students. And we have about 50 groups doing something in the area of the SDGs. Let me see if I'll go back to this one. Yeah. So this sustainability in practice is 50 groups. They're supposed to do a real life project related to one of these 17 SDGs. That's what they do. And you would ask how are they doing? Some groups are doing extremely well. One particular group, they went around and made another 5 or 6 business schools to sign up for peer review. That's a great success. They have actually done it. So, so this project is all about instilling a sustainability mindset. The previous speaker also talked about mindset. Lot of interesting things. So we are not only trying to instill a sustainability mindset, also a transformational leadership mindset, and the social entrepreneurship mindset. I'll only focus on the sustainability mindset. What is a mindset? Cognitive psychologists talk about little mental schemas, and you can think of so many different ways a mindset, but typically what we call your theory of life or your worldview in the sense that the lens through which you see the world and the filter through which you make sense of the world. That is the mindset. How do you actually do that? So our working definition of organizational sustainability is ability of an organization to continuously create value without harming its stakeholders. That's our simple definition. So instilling a sustainability mindset. It's quite challenging. Sustainability is a wicked problem. There's great ideological divide when you're talking about sustainability, and also highly interdisciplinary. You can deal with these two, the wickedness and the ideological divide, through reframing. Here we have developed a new framework for sustainability, and also we are trying with a bit of physical science thinking, design thinking, system thinking, and a lot more. Let's see. Wicked problem. This is a great paper actually. 1973 or 70? Oh yeah, 1973. Rittel and Weber. What is a wicked problem? A wicked problem is one where different stakeholders could never come to a convergence. Most problems we talk about are wicked problems. But unfortunately, our policymakers and our politicians and all the great scholars, they always think about coming up with the solution. But wicked problems would never have the solution. You can only have an approach to a solution and constantly refining the solution. When we hear about all this policy discussion, that was a good policy, this is a bad policy, we are actually dealing with the wicked problems, and what is important is that you should be open to constantly refining it. Multiple stakeholders, plurality of definitions, lack of convergence, poor problem definition leads to solutions which are unacceptable to certain group of stakeholders versus certain. Examples: tax policies, education policies, sustainability, healthcare, immigration, refugee crisis. These are all wicked problems, and you would never have a simple unidimensional solution for wicked problems. And both wicked problems and ideological divide, one way of actually, I'm not telling you can completely deal with it, one way of approaching it is through reframing. Especially when you reframe social issues, they are subjective and value ladder. That's very, very important. That is the ideological divide part. This global warming. If you go to the US and ask hardcore conservatives, it's all man-made. All right? But more progressives and more science-minded people would say that it is anthropogenic. You know who he is? Yes. For some people, it's a freedom fighter. Others, so it's all the way. These are all interesting examples of wicked problems of seeing the issues differently and also framed differently. This is one very. Why do we reframe? We reframe to communicate. To convince, also if I can use Noam Chomsky's words, to manufacture consent. So you reframe it like that. It's a problem solving tool, it's an opportunity identification tool. If you want to really enhance or boost academic social entrepreneurship, reframing of social issues is one of the best starting points for instilling that mindset. This is a very good example. If you look at the abortion debate, especially in the US, because I have more experience there, for conservatives it is all about life. It's a pro-life issue. For progressive, it's about women's choice. But in reality, we all care at the sanctity of life. It's not that we don't care. So the way you frame it, why do you frame it that way? You want to convince, you want to manufacture consent. That's the power of framing. This is a fantastic paper recently, not that recently, 2015, in Academy of Management Journal, AMJ, Fighting Italian Mafia. So far, till that point, till about 10, 12 years ago, every time any group of judges, police officers tried, half of them got killed and it never worked. A group of 7 youngsters tried to fight the mafia. What they have done is they started reframing the issue. It is about a society that pays, the peso is a society without dignity. They started by plastering this message one night in one small village everywhere. That was the starting point. Society started thinking. They reframed the issue of it is not one of dignity to be associated, or it is not the part of our culture. It is about dignity of the society, and a dignified society would never support mafia. That's, one powerful example actually worked. The questions we ask, interestingly, would always trap the answer. The questions we ask and the answers we seek are decided by or determined by our worldview. A behavioral one will provide a behavioral answer. An economics question would give that kind of an answer. An anthropological one would give that kind of an answer. So, asking and framing the issue and the question is very, very important. So, our working definition of reframing is the process of redefining a problem by changing or refining the underlying assumptions. That's reframing. Or more practical, some step-by-step approach. You state the problem, identify the assumptions, you refine it, you restate it. This is not comprehensive, but it's a very practical tool. You can see what did actually happen. At that time, I never realized that what I was doing and what my colleagues were doing. We assumed 300 students, faculty, and staff as stakeholders. But we questioned that and refined it, and our stakeholder base in our mind has increased to 20,000, and everything changed. We are more motivated, we are more passionate about addressing that problem. All these are important. Sometimes you think we don't have enough resources. Maybe you don't need that kind of resources. Even history plays a major role, especially when we are talking about how do we deal with terrorism. Very rarely we understand the history of the region and history of many of those things. Outcomes. Certain outcomes we think that is a must, maybe not. We need to really think about, are these outcomes that important? And of course, the ideology and our view of the world all are very, very important. Now thinking about that interdisciplinary, how do we go ahead in a situation where it is highly interdisciplinary? You can see here. You see, if you look at basic frameworks, people plan the profit framework, and this is social, economic, and environmental framework. I think we need, as business school, scholars and all learners, I think we need a much more comprehensive framework. But I'm not telling this would replace these, but you need to look at sustainability issues through the lens of energy. How are we using energy? What percentage is renewable, and everything about that, and the environmental impact, and what kind of essential materials you use. And this is a major issue. And also, at one point soon, even water is going to be classified as an essential material. There's a group at Twente, they study what is called the virtual water. When you buy an iPhone made somewhere in Taiwan or in China, actually it is virtually China or Taiwan is exporting a lot of water because the water used for processing all those semiconductor wafers and all the processing. So essential materials, and of course the business should make economic sense, and everything you do should be ethical, and education, and for instilling a different kind of mindset is important. Then I'll briefly talk about one more framing example and a little bit of physical science thinking, and then we can have a good question and answer. Physical science thinking systems and this design thinking all are important. And let's look at this. This was about I don't know now 10 years ago, maybe 7-8 years ago. I got a call from one of my colleagues. Her son is doing science experiment, 9-year-old boy, simple experiment, try to see whether cold water or warm water would flow faster. Paper cup, make a hole, try to see how fast, which one would flow faster. And the procedure book says that warm water would definitely drain faster than cold water, but this boy found it the opposite. Actually, cold water has drained faster than. Then I asked her, how did he actually do? The boy went to his school teacher and she said, I cannot explain, whatever you found, you write it. So what has actually happened was, to make sure that he is not dirtying his mom's kitchen, so he introduced the paper cup onto another cup. When warm water was flowing out, this heated the air here and it exerted a pressure upwards and it slowed down. And that was the time I was teaching a sustainability class at UT Dallas, and I started asking my students. Interestingly, none of them could explain what was going on, and even my colleagues could not explain what is going on. Then we thought, at the business school, we teach our MBA students everything about the socio-economic, cultural and political environment of the business. We rarely talk about the physical environment of the business. And about 80% of our graduates, they go and work for a high-tech company. So without having that kind of a mindset, they know about culture, they know about economics, they know about politics, they know about strategy, everything else, but not the physical science aspect of it. So what have I done? This is again an interesting example of training. I asked my colleagues, do you agree that because of all this, we must teach material science to our MBA students? Why material science? But to teach the basic ideas of chemistry and physics, material science is the best vehicle to teach. That is a lot more realistic and practical. So the answer was obvious, no. What did I do? I reframed the question. Do you agree our students should gain a deeper understanding of the physical world around them because they all go and work for high-tech corporations? The answer was yes. This has really happened in the faculty meeting. All of them agreed. So this is another example of reframing. So we have decided to teach material science. We didn't want to teach material science as we typically teach in an engineering school. We started teaching material science more through biomimicry. So this is an example of biomimicry. This is a brick. We heat it, process it at about 900 to 1200 degrees centigrade. A shell normally formed between 10 to 20 degrees centigrade. Which one is stronger? This brick or this one? The shell is stronger. That's 5 meters. All right, yeah. Okay, so here again, we can learn a lot from nature. I'm not going into the science of it. There's a particular protein which directs the way the atoms are arranged in the shell. This is much more cruder way of doing it. Why is biomimicry important? Because science is not good enough to predict everything. All the designs in engineering we want to make. So nature had or has the luxury of experimenting for the last 3-4 billion years. We don't have that luxury, so it is better to learn from them. So there are also other examples of so why biomimicry. Limits of predictive power of science and engineering is really not that much as we think, and we need to learn from this trial and error method of billions of years. We need to imitate nature. So I'll skip this. This is another example of using titanium dioxide based solar cells. Here also we do biomimicry because to absorb all visible light, we impregnate this material with chlorophyll kind of dye. We know green chlorophyll kind of dye absorbs all visible light. Again, biomimicry. So a bit of the design thing. This is one important thing I want to show you. Because it's a technical university, there's an old picture too of the old television. This is a scanning electron microscope. Here, we invoke the idea of electrons as particles. Here, we invoke the idea of electrons as waves. But the question is, what are electrons? The answer is not that complicated, very simple. It doesn't matter. Science is not about finding the truth, but science is an opportunity for design. All right. Thank you.